Hi everyone, Sajid Amit here, and welcome to my very quick review and comparison of the Focal Stellia and the Focal Utopia. So these are very famous headphones, and a lot of you watching will own them or might have even heard them at a can jam or perhaps at a dealer or at a friend's. So I wanted to just sort of, share my thoughts on how these two compare, because I've been, a lot of people have been messaging me ever since my Stellia review, asking me if I can do like an A/B. So I have done an A/B. And they're pretty similar yet different sounding headphones, and I just thought I'd just quickly talk about how these vary, and in case you're considering buying one or the other. Now guys, so basically people say that the Stellia is a closed back Utopia, and I think it's true. They sound very similar, but there are of course differences. Now what are these differences? So in terms purely sonically speaking, and I'll talk about sound first because I want to keep this discussion brief. This is a more accurate sounding headphone. This is a sweeter sounding headphone. This is a punchier headphone with more treble clarity. This is a very punchy headphone, don't get me wrong, but it has slightly less treble clarity and a bit of a rolled off treble. This has a bit more forward mid-range, upper mid-range in particular. So vocals sound very sweet. And despite the forwardness, there's a laid-back quality about this because of the treble roll-off. This has more energetic, yet not bright treble. And its vocals sound absolutely beautiful. It has more clarity, but it doesn't have the sweetness that this does. Which is all relative, guys, because I would say that the vocals here are, I think, they have a certain warmth that even the LCD5 does not. And I'll talk about a LCD5 and a Utopia comparison in a separate video. But overall, if I had to compare these two sonically speaking, I would say that if you like, more warmth, if you like a bass shelf, then you go for this. If you like a sweeter mid-range and a laid-back sound, you'd go for this. If you don't like treble, if you want a treble to be rolled off, but have some treble detail and a decent amount, of course, you'd go for this. It's smoother. This is not the opposite of smooth, by the way. It's this very smooth sounding headphone. I think the treble is smoother than the Focal Clear even, which you'd expect. But I just want to make sure that when I talk about treble energy, you don't perceive this as a bright headphone that's just going to be difficult to listen to. It's not. It's a beautifully wonderful, accurate headphone. It has more clarity than the Stellia. It has more dynamic energy, so it's more punchy. And overall, it just has a bit more extension in the treble. Now, to talk about technical performance, I think, as you might have heard or might not have heard, this is more detailed in the Stellia, and it's perceptible. It's faster, it's slammier, it has a deeper sound stage, more openness, of course, because it's an open back. So you have to ask, what is Sajid doing comparing a closed back with an open back? The fact is, the Stellia is wonderful for a closed back. It doesn't have the technical performance chops that the Utopia does, but it's really not that far behind. And yeah, it does sound like a closed back, but it's a pretty wide stage for a closed back. Utopia, on the other hand, has a deeper stage, much deeper stage, and it's beautiful. So if you don't necessarily crave a wide stage like the HD800 has, and if you value stage depth, Utopia will be like an amazing headphone for you. So technical performance-wise, this is, I think, a superior headphone by far. Tonality, it really depends on what you like. Timbre is something I haven't talked about. So timbrally speaking, I think they're both pretty similar. I don't perceive the metallicness of a Utopia, and I think a lot of Focal headphones have that when it's not broken in. But I think they're pretty similar. But if I had to give one headphone my sort of top pick among these two for timbral performance, it would be the Stellia. It's just by a hair. Overall, guys, I do think it's a better headphone, but if you want a closed back, this is a closed back Utopia, so you wouldn't be, making a mistake by buying this and not that. But if you wanted the absolute technical powerhouse for your money between these two, and if you like the Focal house sound, you would pick the Utopia. So that's it, guys. I'm going to do these brief comparisons now and then, and especially of the Utopia and the LCD5. And the Utopia, I think, sounds very similar to the LCD5, or rather, the LCD5 sounds very similar to the Utopia. But there are, of course, interesting differences. I want to talk about that in a future review. So stay tuned and subscribe if you have not. And thank you for watching. Bye.